the art and science contribution to Hendrix was important because they were from the outside. And on numerous occasions, I had conversations with faculty, staff, and others who felt a little bit as if, why do we need these outsiders to come in and do this research to tell us how we should position ourselves? Don't we know ourselves well enough to know how to position ourselves? And I would say, yes, we do. But what they're going to do for us is tell us whether our preconceived notions about ourselves are accurate, and if they are, great. And if they're not, then they're going to show us how to tweak it so that we can be authentic to ourselves, while at the same time tweaking it a little bit so that we can be more compelling to those who are outside of ourselves. Because one of the biggest dangers we have is that, and we have this as human beings, that we think we're being perceived one way, and we really don't know, unless we get outside our skin, how we're being perceived. And so there was a lot of controversy about bringing in outsiders. Two things were important for this. One was the cognitive shift that happened with art and science. And art and science took a lot of heat, and I took a lot of heat. The second thing that was important was that art and science was a national, prestigious firm. And I would say that the year that we got on the cover of the New York Times 3 consecutive times in 1 year, and one of our board members named Frank Cox, who was working with us on the Odyssey whole project, and he was heading a company in Little Rock, an advertising agency in Little Rock. He worked with focus groups on campus, and he got above the fold in the New York Times. And we got on the cover of the New York Times 3 times in 1 year. And one of the reasons why we did was because we were working with art and science. And they were a go-to firm for the Times in talking about trends in higher education. So not only were we buying their expertise and what they were telling us about how we needed to position ourselves, but we were buying entree to some of the most important publications in the United States. Money Magazine, the Atlantic Monthly. I mean, you can't imagine the entree it gave us. Also, I think that sometimes necessity becomes a virtue. Necessity becomes a virtue. And that happens in churches and in a lot of institutions. And if you can't get your membership up above, your church membership up above 1,000, it becomes a virtue to have 1,000 members. And then you start promulgating a lot of stories about why it's a virtue to only have 1,000 members. And is that true? Could be. Is it a function of you tried and you can't get it up more than that? Maybe. But you've always got to question your assumptions. And sometimes it takes an outsider to push you to do that. And that's why they were important.